Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Are You Ready for Your Inspection podcast. Today I have a super duper guest who I haven't spoken to for a very long time, but I love the fact that when I do speak to you, it's like we have seen each other the day before, which is really, really good. So, Sarah, please introduce yourself for me and then we can get cracking with the podcast.
Hi, Vanessa. It's so lovely to see you. And you're right, we pick up exactly where we left
I
off.
know,
It's like no time has passed. I love
I
it.
know.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come on and talk with you. I'm Sarah, and I am a consultant and trainer in children's emotional well-being, particularly in the early years. So big feelings, behavior, emotional regulation, that's my thing. That's what I spend my life talking about, helping people with, and trying to support with.
Yeah. And so we asked in our early years managers impact group who they would like for me to have a conversation with and discussion with, and your name came up. So that's why I love it when someone give me something to go to, and I'm like, oh, I know Sarah, I can do that. I can message her. Let's have a
Make that
chat.
happen.
Yeah, exactly. And before we went live on the podcast, we had that discussion of things that I am seeing in our audits and the team are seeing, the field team are seeing in their audits is the fact that children's, well, you call them big feelings, which I absolutely adore. Can we have adults as big feelings as well? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
we have big
Yeah, we do have large
definitely.
ones, humongous ones. Yeah. And we talked about those children that actually, if you think about where those children are now, they were, and we're at the point of this recording. It was 4 years ago that we went into lockdown. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it had a significant impact, I believe, on a number of children and families. And we were just saying, weren't we, that if we picture what it was like for new parents at this time, the fear we had around this was pre-vaccination of COVID, pre-understanding what it was. We just knew this virus was on the spread. We had mums who were giving birth on their own without their support network around them. And then we're going home to a life where if they had older children, they may not have been in school. They may have been trying to home educate their older children while having a newborn baby, not being able to have a support network around them in the same way in terms of visitors, going to groups, etc. So I think there was a grieving process for many parents as to what that looked like compared to what they'd imagined that process was going to look like. And for those babies, their life was different. They didn't have the same
Yeah.
social interaction that other children may have had. They didn't get held by different people. They didn't go to baby groups in the same way. And it was a kind of a fear-driven world that we lived in for some time. And we know that young babies actually pick up on our emotions so much. They're guided by us, right? They look to us for everything.
Yeah,
So
totally.
it will have absolutely impacted on their experience of the world as a safe place, on their social communication and interaction, and on their stress levels too, because they were born into a stressful world. So it's not really surprising that we're seeing in those threes, fours now, how much that some of them are struggling with their feelings and their behaviors. It's not surprising at all. But of course, the tricky thing is then how do we support them?
And it's not only is it how do we support them? I mean, I thinking about it's so surreal, isn't it? Because you couldn't. This is a horror story, isn't it? You could not imagine this happening. We're always going to remember when we went into lockdown. We're always going to remember that. Um, and I just think that it's we've got these children with these big feelings, but we've also got practitioners as well who are trying to help cope with those children with those big feelings and those big emotions. Boy, oh boy, that's tricky. That is really hard.
And it's tricky, isn't it, at a time when, we're in a cost of living crisis. There is uncertainty in the world. We know the earlier sector can be under pressure at times because of recruitment challenges, etc. So we're also in a time when some adults, many adults, are struggling with their own big feelings. As you rightly said, we have big
Yeah.
feelings too. And actually, most of us anyway, didn't get the kind of support that I advocate for young children getting. We didn't get that when we were growing up, so
Yes.
no one taught us how to do it.
No, I know. I wish somebody did, because then I wouldn't flip my lid as often as I probably do flip my lid. And there's the whole breed. Yeah, I can see it. And now it's like, actually walking helps with me. I tend to go for a walk because that will regulate where I need to be. But it's taken me 55 years, Sarah,
But
for
that's out, right?
somebody to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That I think that's so important what you've just said. It's for us as adults, if we're going to support the children, how do we work out how to get our needs met? How we can't co-regulate. We talk a lot about co-regulation today and all these strategies, brilliant. But how do we do it if we're not regulated?
Oh my word.
It's very challenging. You can't pour from an empty jug and all that, analogies. So we really, as nurseries and early years settings, need to be thinking, how are we supporting our teams? How are we supporting their mental well-being? How are we supporting ourselves? Because we all have that, responsibility to kind of work out, right, what we need. And as you said, some of us get to our 40s and 50s and we're still learning.
Yeah.
But the learning is important. And something I see when I do training often is people saying, oh, okay, I wish I'd had
Like,
this. I need to work on this stuff too for me. Maybe I could
yes.
try validating my own feelings and, saying affirmations in the morning and going for a walk and making sure I'm topped up, because that is what we need as individuals and also what we need if we're going to support the children.
Because if we don't do it ourselves, that's where co-regulation plus self-regulations equals resilience. And if we don't do that to help children, and that's why I say we have to get it right. But you're right, you can't feel, from an empty cup, you can't, that whole feeling, you can't. But you have to recognize it in yourself. I mean, that has taken me, I would probably say, probably the last 4, 5 years of me recognizing, I can't do what I do if my brain is not in that right space. And you do all these things, when you go to settings and you see them, we do meditation for children, and I watch it and it's lovely, but I actually, half of me thinks, but actually, are you really embracing that meditation? Because is it just another tick box exercise? Now I know I can't meditate. If you tell me to sit still for 5 minutes, I know my brain cannot do that. It goes off these tangents all of the time. But you have to find that strategy, don't you?
You have to find a strategy that works for you, and the same, just as it's true with adults, it's true with children. And so just as with adults, meditation is amazing for some people, but for other people, they need to move. They do walking meditations, or they
Yeah.
need to go for a run or to the gym or whatever it might be. And the same is true for children. So that's why I think sometimes people get frustrated or confused with strategies they're trying, but actually it is because children are humans. And so they have different needs for regulation. So for some children, regulation is about being on the move. It's about, and I don't just mean going outside to let off steam, but I mean, they might need to climb, they might need to carry heavy things, especially if they need sort of sensory input. They might need something that regulates their different sort of areas of sensory needs as well. And for other children, they'll want to lie down and look up at the clouds, and that's their thing. And so we've really got to experiment with what's right for different children and help them. I feel like in early years, we've really got a golden opportunity to help children to start being aware of what does work for them. And it's okay if meditation doesn't work for you. It's okay if deep breathing doesn't work for you in this moment. Let's try something different. What does work for you? You need to jump up and down. You need to go and swing outside really hard. You need to,
Yeah.
great. Let's find what works for you.
And it is finding that strategy. Yeah. When you find it, it's the other big thing is being consistent, because this is the other thing I hear is, oh, we tried that, but it didn't work.
Yes.
Well, how long did you try it for? Well, we did it for a week. Well, that's not gonna, that's not gonna work for a week. You have to keep going, because the longer you stay on a diet, the better it is, because your brain is registered on, almost like me on my steps. If I don't do 14,000 steps every day, I get to that point where I'm like, I've got to move, because I need to get to that point. And you have to be consistent.
You're absolutely right. Whenever somebody says to me, we've tried everything, I slightly panic because it often means we've done so much
in
and
so
actually
little
we've
time.
tried 10 different strategies in 3 weeks. And it's like, just try something and observe, because sometimes we're just looking for the tiniest changes. It's not magic overnight, but we see this little change and we go, okay, there's something there that's connected to this child, something that we can see might maybe made a slight difference. Let's keep going. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we introduce a strategy and it's really hard for the children, and that's okay as well, and we have to take a step back. Doesn't mean it's wrong. We might have gone too quickly. We might have gone in at the wrong time. We might have expected too much too soon. So consistency is key. And I think along with that is looking at our environments as a whole and making sure that our environments and our practice aren't causing stress to the children as well. So it's even before we think about big feelings, it's thinking, let's do an audit, let's do a check of our environment. What could be overstimulating in here? What could be stressful? The way we're talking to them, could we be triggering a response that we're not intending to because, of the way we're interacting? Have we got too high expectations for the age group of the child we're working with? And really doing that kind of evaluation of our practice to make sure that the environment we're creating for children meets the needs of the children we've got, not the children we had last year, not the children we're going to have next year.
Oh gosh, Sarah, that's it. And it changes all of the time. It's almost like someone will say about, oh, we've done our curriculum, we don't need to change it. No, you need to change it for your cohort of children because they're all different. They're all different. The cohort of children, but you've got to adapt it to those children. That's exactly what you're just saying.
100%. Because if you have a child who comes in and nothing that we have on offer meets their interests or their needs, particularly because it was right for last year's children, you can have an ethos and an approach, right? But you can create different activities and experiences and within your ethos. I'm not sort of saying don't have an ethos, but we within that and still need to meet the needs of individual children. And notice that children sometimes have things they get really passionate about and interested in, and to go with that, not what we think they need. And that, I think, if you're responding to the needs of the child in front of you, not the child you think you should have, that's so key for me. It's like there is no such thing as the child we think we should have. They're all different and they're all at different stages. And so we need to work with the children and what they're showing us they need.
And the whole thing we did, I did training this weekend of Saturday just gone in Devon. And and actually I've recorded a podcast, I think it comes out next week, about love languages. And I'm a real big, oh my word, and actually that's children. Some children like that quality time. Some children just like that little touch to go, you okay? Some children just like it, that's a great job. All of those things. Some children like it that if you do their zip up, that's an act of service. That's yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all those little things. But if we don't know our children very well, which is why it's so important, linking the progress about being ready for inspection. Your inspector's going to want to know, how well do you know those children? That's it.
That's the key. That is the key. That is the key. You need to know your children. You need to, know where they've been and how you're helping them to move forward. And that's not about any particular type of planning or anything else. It's this child right now. What do they need and how am I supporting them? And I couldn't agree more. I love that example of the active service, because it's like we're so focused sometimes on promoting independence or promoting skills, and we forget.
And it was a Montessori setting that I went to, and they said, but we encourage them to do their own zip. And I said, yep, I understand that, but a child can't do the zip straight away on their own. And we're persevering is a good trait. Yeah, keep going, that's great, but actually, how great would it be if you just stuck it in with the zip and they pulled it up to start with? That's an act of service. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
It's those little things, helping them put their welly boots on the right feet.
And even adults, right? We like to feel taken care of, don't we? I mean, if we get home from work and our partner or mum or dad or brother or sister, whoever we live with, if we live with someone or if we're seeing a friend and And they say, do you fancy a cup of tea? And they're like, okay, great, there's the kettle, you know how to do it. It's like just that moment of, there are moments we say, oh, help yourself. But there are also moments we say, oh, you look like you've had a tough day. Let me make you a cup of tea. And that we
Yeah.
can't have a one size fits all approach to children. It's about, comes back to relationships, doesn't it? It comes back to relationships
And it
and
goes back
connection.
to what you know about your children. You know, how great would it be if you've got, an inspector says, who's your key child? Tell me about that child. And, normally the whole spiel is, oh, they like dinosaurs, and the next step is the intention is this. But how great would it be if you go, well, actually, we're noticing that, there are some triggers here, and this is what we'll do. And we've tried this strategy and keeping going on it. And they really love acts of service, they like that, or gifts or something, that's
Absolutely, because that's so real in terms of the
it's
relationships
real.
and that's always the foundation of learning, of regulation. Children, thinking back about the big feelings, how do children learn self-regulation? They learn it through relationships, and those relationships have to be real, they have to be authentic, they have to be meaningful. And if we don't understand what is meaningful and authentic to that child, some children, we know, we've met them, they're the child who you go to help them with their zip and they're like, whoa, back off. I can do this, and they don't want the help, right? And then there's the other child who, you're absolutely right, just that little helping hand means the world to them. And so we can't apply just a one size fits all. We need to make sure it works for their individual needs. And I love that. I love the love languages. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about it. I'm a little bit addicted to it, which is a bit scary. I was trying to do, this is a classic example. The classic example was me doing this training, going, okay, so words of affirmation, that's my love language. If someone says thank you to me, or great job, Vanessa, or if my mum and dad go, we're really proud of you, that is, for me, is just got it. And I pulled this thing out. It's just classic. I pulled this thing. I said, now, if somebody gave me a gift, I said, I'd actually have a freak out. I said, so if somebody gave me some flowers, I'd go, oh my God, I need to find a vase. Where have I got no vase? Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of this training, Sarah, they gave me a bouquet of flowers. Yeah, I know, your face. I could see your face. I never felt so mortified. I mean, they laughed, which was a great thing. And if they're listening to this
Yeah.
podcast now, they will laugh about it. Me, I started to cry because I just thought, I am mortified. Don't, we talked about being real, didn't we?
I was just going to
Being
say,
real.
but you know what? Authenticity, right?
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it's just a classic example. Yeah,
I love
I
that.
know.
But I think, and that's the thing, isn't it? But if we don't know, we don't know. And that's the getting to know, right?
Which
People
is
don't
how
know
you
if they
want somebody to get to know you, don't you? Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And we just need
yeah.
to take the time to get to know those children and what they need and what they're telling us. And I think it's easier than people think it is. I think people feel challenged on time, but I think it's just a redirection of our focal point. Like you said, let's think, don't get me wrong, dinosaurs and cars and
No,
building
I
and all
get
that
it.
stuff,
I get it.
important. But let's think a little bit less about that sometimes and a little bit more about the connection and the relationship and the authenticity, because the learning will spring for that. If that's
Totally.
in place, it will happen. The learning will happen and the regulation will happen. But without the relationship, we're stumped for learning and regulation, actually. The relationship
Yeah, we
has to
are.
come first.
It's a whole cycle, isn't it? If somebody wanted to reach out and find out where they could find more about you, where would they be able to find you?
You can find me at my website, which is wearecocoro,
I bet you
COCORO.co.uk.
spell
And you can
that all
also
the
find me.
time, don't you?
Yeah. Jigsaw's an easier name, Vanessa.
Well, no, because we have to say Jigsaw EYC now. We're
Of
not allowed to
course.
say Jigsaw because of the Jigsaw
Yep.
film, the Lionsgate, who proceeded to sue us. So we're not allowed to say that. I know. Don't even ask. Really?
Clarity.
You couldn't be any further from the truth, can you? From a horror movie to an early years consultancy. I know. Don't. Several £1,000s later for a fight in my corner, and I just went, look, just easier. But okay, so we are Kokoro, COCORO.
COCORO.co.uk.
All right, right, okay. All right.
I would love, feel free to get in touch. I'm happy to help in whatever way I can. And yeah, this is my mission. I want to help children to grow up with the sense of resilience, the sense of self-compassion, the sense of knowing that these feelings are okay, because as adults, we're tough on ourselves for having these big feelings. And I would love a world where we grow up knowing that we can have compassion towards ourselves for finding things hard and needing help and reaching out to other people. And if we can help them with this now in these formative years, then I really hope we can make a positive change for the future.
And that is really, really important, because you just think 40 years down the line, you know, with someone like us is having this conversation and someone's going, well, actually, I remembered our podcast and someone said about our emotions. How great would that be?
It'd be amazing.
I know. I know. I really,
With
yeah.
the feelings, but we can learn how to cope with them. We can learn that it's human. We can learn that it's okay to ask for help and be, you know, I read something the other day about, you know, the way that we respond to children when they're having these big feelings is the way they will respond to themselves in the future. So if we respond to their big feelings with anger, with fear, with disappointment, that's how they will respond to themselves when they have those feelings. If we respond with compassion, doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. Of course, we have to have boundaries with behavior, etc. If we respond with compassion and respect and kindness and support, they will hopefully grow into people who do that for themselves and for other people. And that has the potential to be, you know, life-changing for many people, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. Oh, Sarah, I can spend hours talking to you.
We could just
Honestly
keep
can.
it going, couldn't we?
I know. I keep my podcast really short because my brain doesn't take it just goes to short snippets. But I'm just like, oh my God, I could talk hours. So also, you are coming to EPOP. You doing EPOP with
I
us?
was just going to say that. I'm going to be seeing you in September.
Not
I'm
long.
excited. Not long.
No, it's not
Can't
long.
wait. It's
No,
been amazing today.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening to this and would like some information about our Exploring the Power of Play festival, which is in our field in the garden, fingers crossed the weather, probably not as hot as last year because that was a little bit too hot. But hey ho, we did it. We did it. Let us know and you'll be able to sign up for Sarah's workshop. So we're delighted to have her there. Sarah, as usual, and I don't mean this like flippantly, absolutely love talking to you. I could spend hours talking to you. Thank you
Likewise.
so much for
Appreciate
spending
it.
the time. Yeah, and
Oh,
I will see
pleasure.
you very, very soon.
Thank you so much.